you said you were really kind of trying to. You said you took the U.S. style management and applied it here, right?
Exactly. Basically, what worked very well for me running a company in California had the opposite impact here in the Philippines. I actually, didn't plan on moving to the Philippines. I thought I was just going to open up the business and maybe come here once a year. This is that Filipinos put family first, and Americans and probably a lot of Western countries put work first. And I think number one mistake was I didn't talk to enough people in business here that knew what they were doing. And there's a lot of business investor visa. For example, one of them, if you have 10 or more full-time employees.
Do you think that the industry you're in, do you think it's oversaturated now? What's a couple things that maybe you've thought of? Like, you'd be like, oh, that'd be a good business idea if someone did it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are back in the streets of Cebu, Philippines. And today I have my guest here. This is John. Well, he has a business here and a couple YouTube channels. I saw his channel, California Expat. And you also have the American Entrepreneur in the Philippines.
Yes.
So, yeah, do you want to, just real quick, you want to tell them about your channels?
Sure.
Just to kind of start?
Yeah, sure. So I started American Entrepreneur in the Philippines about 4 years ago. That's just really about life and business here in the Philippines as an expat. And then California Expat is more just kind of everyday life here.
I saw on your video, you said you have your company, Purple Cow, right?
That's right, yeah.
So you started that back in the States, yeah?
I did, yeah. So Purple Cow in California has been a digital marketing agency since 2008, and then opened up a business process outsourcing company here in the Philippines 2019. Okay. So that's a really common style of work here. So many people outsource services to the Philippines. And so we really focus on that, digital marketing, software development, stuff like that.
Yeah, so there's a massive demand, right, for the what do they call BPO?
Yeah,
BPO, so outsourcing for like call centers and really just all kinds of stuff, right?
Exactly. Yeah, really in the same way that when people want to manufacture stuff, they go to China. Okay. When people want to outsource services that human beings do, they mostly come to the Philippines.
Yeah. Well, let's take a step back. So you're from the States, right? You're from California. So can you kind of give us a little brief, quick 1-2 of your history, where you're from, and kind of all that?
Sure. Yeah, so born in Los Angeles, was living in San Francisco before I moved over here. I actually, didn't plan on moving to the Philippines. I thought I was just going to open up the business and maybe come here once a year. So yeah, I lived in California most of my life, though I did live in Australia for 10 years as well.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
yeah. So I was over there for a pretty long time as well. But
was that with the Purple Cow too, or is that separate?
No, that was separate. That was when I was younger. I went there for what was supposed to be a 6-month stay. And that turned into 10 years later. Nice. Yeah, and same with Philippines. I was just supposed to come here maybe once a year for a couple of weeks, and now it's been, more than 4 years.
Oh, it's been 4 years now?
Yeah.
Okay, so, wow. So then you were just working and living in Australia?
Yeah. My ex-wife is from Australia, so I have 4 sons. One was born in California, the other 3 were born in Australia. So
they have dual citizenship?
They do.
But does one of them not because of that? Or
no, they all got it, which is good for them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A couple passports.
Yeah.
Do you like Australia or U.S. better living? I mean, I know they're different, but...
definitely the U.S.
Okay.
Yeah, so in Australia, at the time, it was a great experience. I still have some great friendships. It's been probably more than 15 years since I lived there, now. But I definitely prefer the U.S. Over Australia. Sorry, Australians. However, I far more prefer Philippines over the U.S.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. Then what kind of made you decide to come to the Philippines? Was it, what was kind of that turning point? Were you just wanted something new? Was it just you thought it'd be better for the business? Or?
Yeah, so what would happen is I would, work with employees out of our California office during the day, and then it's so expensive to run a business and live in California.
Oh, yeah.
And so at night I would work...
I'm sorry, that was in San Francisco?
It was.
Your office? Oh, yeah. It's so expensive there, yeah.
It is, yeah, just to live there. Actually, our office is in Pleasanton in the East Bay area, and then was living in San Francisco. So it's a great place to do business, but just an expensive place to do it. And so at nighttime I would outsource some of our work to, people in places like India, Vietnam, Philippines, just to really try to balance out costs. And after a while, I thought, hire a manager, project manager, human resources to oversee a team here in the Philippines, so I could sleep at night instead of kind of personally managing people, And what happened is I came to the Philippines to start the incorporation and get an office and all of that. And really, from my first trip here, I just immediately fell in love with the people and the Philippines and the country, and I didn't want to go back to California. So I wound up kind of coming back and forth between Philippines and California a few times in 2019, and then I've been here nonstop since January 2020.
Oh, right before the pandemic.
Right before the pandemic.
Right on time.
I have great timing, as you can tell. Yeah.
So okay, so in 2019 you decided you wanted to come, and then you kind of came in and out to set it up, essentially?
Exactly, yeah. Okay, I came back and forth 3 times. Like, as an expat, trying to set up a business in the Philippines takes a bit of work.
Oh, I bet.
And I was lucky to have, some good people here helping me out with that. But, everything kind of started before I actually got here.
Okay, all right. So nice. So then so you got here January 2020. So you just landed in Cebu?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, so opened up first office in Cebu, lived here for about 4 years straight.
Okay, yeah, nice. So then how was it so do you think that was, and we don't have to get too much into detail, but do you think you coming here helped? Because, a lot of people probably left, right? Because a lot of people had to go back to their home countries and stuff. It kind of reset a lot of the foreign expat communities. Do you think that helped your business because you were kind of maybe less competition at that time? And maybe more online work, or?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think definitely, during the pandemic, people realized that they can work online with other people. Mm-hmm. And so people start to feel like, well, we could work with each other online in our own country. Yeah. And then they kind of put 2 and 2 together and figured out, well, if it's all over Zoom, we could also do that with people in countries like the Philippines or India, wherever they might be outsourcing to as well. Uh-huh. So I do think that it helped, with outsourcing in general. And I definitely think it helps, if you want to start a business in the Philippines, to be here in the Philippines or really have someone on the ground that you could trust.
Yeah, I gotcha. It's tough, because even just driving around, I'm like, man, I feel like there's a lot of opportunity here, but at the same time, it's got to be kind of a headache just with the cultural workforce difference and stuff.
There's really huge cultural differences. So
I heard you say that in one of your videos. At first you said you were really kind of trying to attack it, maybe. I don't know if that was the right word, and you said you kind of. What would you say?
Well, pretty much, just being transparent. Any mistake that you could make as an expat running a business here, I'm a professional in making all the mistakes. So
you said you took the U.S. style management and applied it here, right?
Exactly. Uh-huh. So I found in the U.S. mostly employees really value independence, and if you're not micromanaging them, and if you're really treating them like family, really caring for them, and basically what worked very well for me running a company in California had the opposite impact here in the Philippines. Here, I think people really value having more accountability, more oversight, more instruction, and so it took me a good 2 years to kind of make all the mistakes and just really learn that as an expat living here, I need to be the one to change. People aren't going to change for me. But I gotta say, working with the team over here for almost 5 years now, we really have a good blend where people really understand what kind of others in Western countries expect in terms of communication and work, and I really understand what it's like here running a business as well. So definitely there's so much opportunity, I think, for business in the Philippines, but also there's a lot of invisible pitfalls as well. If I could go back, I would have spent a lot more time really talking to people that have businesses here and just trying to understand the cultural differences more.
Okay. So on the flip side of the U.S. culture, can you give a quick bullet rundown of maybe how it is here?
Sure.
Just kind of what you kind of had to adjust to, maybe.
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest differences is that Filipinos put family first, and Americans and probably a lot of Western countries put work first.
Yeah.
So, that was part of it. So if someone was really sick and people would need to go to the hospital, people would want to go to support the family member. Whereas in America, they would be, just they would always make sure that they showed up.
Yeah, unless it's really bad, right?
Yes, of course. Yeah. So sometimes it's just small differences, like that with, family coming first here as well. I think also people here want more oversight as well. So, here we have CCTV cameras and, screenshots of what people are working on through the day, and I kind of feel like Big Brother over here.
So like the employees like that.
Well,
or just like the business, like people you do business with, essentially.
Really, for me, as as a boss, I feel like whether I'm in California or the Philippines, my job is to create an environment that brings out the best in employees.
Yeah.
And so what I would say is that I think that oversight brings out the best in employees here. It's really normal. That's how workplaces are.
Yeah.
Over here as well. So I think it's adjusting to those type of things that I've had to do.
Wow, okay. People, I think a lot of people now, especially with the digital nomad and all that, and, like the passport bros and all that kind of stuff, there's a lot more, business being created overseas. So what would you say, to people that maybe are thinking about coming over here and, and starting a business? I mean, would you recommend it? Would you say, honestly, if you don't have a great idea or something, I want to try it, do you think would you say just go for it, and see if something sticks? Or
Sure. I would say, definitely learn from my mistakes. And I think number one mistake was I didn't talk to enough people in business here that knew what they were doing. So
yeah. And real quick, you talk a lot about that on your other channel, right?
American Entrepreneur in the Philippines. Yeah. And anybody's welcome to reach out to me. And, I'm really passionate about helping, expats that want to start a business here help out. So people are always welcome to do that. But I would say, don't start a business anywhere in the world unless you can't help it, because it is it's kind of like having kids. It's like, if you could avoid that one, there's some things in life where you really want to know that you're 100% committed, because there's going to be a lot of sleepless nights and a lot of dirty diapers and stuff like that. So it's something where you just got to count the cost no matter where you are in the world. But if you can't but help want to start a business, then of course I'd say, go for it. In the Philippines, I think anywhere in the world, you're really just having to follow basic business principles, making sure that you have, a service or product that's, in demand. You have enough people that want to pay for it at prices that are high enough where you're going to make a profit. And so I would say here in the Philippines, as long as you're, planning things out and following good business principles, same as anywhere, it's likely to succeed. However, not all businesses do. So I think that it's best to really do your research. A lot of the businesses here that seem like they would be good ideas often are not. So if everybody's talking about the business idea, chances are you don't want to do that. And mostly those are businesses that are really popular, like carinderias, which are lower cost food places here. People will see there's just like hundreds of people, eating at those places every day. But you're only making a few pesos,
profit,
per meal. So that's really hard.
Tough game.
Or even, I see people saying like, not everybody has washer or dryer. I'm going to start a laundry business, but things like commercial washer dryers are more expensive here compared to the US. It's going to take a lot longer to get them serviced if anything goes wrong, and what people are going to pay for a load of laundry is lower. So,
and there's a lot of them, to be honest. That I've noticed.
I know it's counterintuitive, but I often tell people to invest in something where people will have to spend a lot that might not be as popular. There is, people know that, there's poverty in the Philippines like any other country. Maybe a bit more here than some places, being a developing country. But there's a lot of money here too, and a lot of...
a lot more than you'd realize, right?
Yes, and a lot of those people are looking for high-end, restaurants or spas or places like that as well. So sometimes the good business ideas are counterintuitive. So foreigners here can own businesses 100% now, but depending on the type of business, it could be expensive to start.
So before the foreigners couldn't own it, but they changed it to now you can own 100%?
That's right. So since March of 2019, there's been a business formation called One Person Corporation, which my company is over here, where foreigners can own, not all, but most types of business 100%. Definitely there's some types of businesses that foreigners can only own like 40% or 60%, things like that as well. So we're talking to an attorney over here about stuff like that, which is cheap.
Yeah. So then with your business, so you have a special visa tied into that, right?
Yeah. So mostly
you have longer time frame.
Yes. So if you have a business, you got to look into different types of visas. It might be a 13A visa if you're married to a Filipina, and then there's a lot of business investor visa. For example, one of them, if you have 10 or more full-time employees, that's what I went after because you save a lot of, some of the other ones could also be expensive to get. So if you have a business that has 10 or more employees, that's probably the cheapest, easiest way to get a business visa over here.
Do you think that the industry you're in, do you think it's oversaturated now? Do you think that, because I think you had told me it's tons of competition, do you think it's kind of all the holes have been filled, or do you think there's always room for people to...
Yeah, I think that there's always room. So the Philippines is really the business process outsourcing capital of the world.
Yeah.
Used to be India, years ago, but now it's the Philippines. And so I would say, consider niching into a certain industry, but there's still a lot of opportunity here.
Okay, and then real quick too, would you say, what's a couple things that maybe you've thought of, like you'd be like, oh, that'd be a good business idea if someone did it, or that maybe that you see a demand that's going to come?
So I would say for me over here, Filipinos are really strong just in terms of English communication skills. So I think anything where they have to communicate for people overseas is definitely really helpful. That could be sales, whether appointment setting. So, one thing that I did that was really successful is just appointment setting sales, for construction companies. There's a lot of people in the Philippines that are really good selling. So I would definitely say sales is something worth looking at here. Definitely a really good restaurant. There's just not that many of them over here.
It's tough, yeah.
So if you do something with excellence, I just see a lot of places packed out like that. I recommend starting off with a ghost kitchen, though, where people are preparing food just in a commercial kitchen, and they're selling it on, a food delivery app like Grab or something, Food Panda over here, so you could really test the concept out, because restaurant businesses can be very risky.
Yeah. Tough industry. Yeah.
Yes. So really anything in the outsourcing space I think is very popular here. Anything that's high end that you do with excellence, I think will do really well over here if people have to pay a lot for it. And it's always worth, I think, people thinking about doing things that are online, where they're not having to pay as much infrastructure and employees and different things like that as well.
Yeah.
So I really love online courses or anything where you could really build something once and then just focus on marketing and selling it.
Do you think, as far as AI and that kind of stuff, will that have any kind of effect on your industry? Do you think that will cross over? Are you trying to find ways to implement it, or is it kind of separate, or what's the deal with that?
Yeah. So AI already is impacting my industry.
Yeah.
Not completely, but I think it will continue to, and we're already kind of harnessing that by doing AI projects. So we build custom AI applications for companies out there. Sometimes that's chatbots or, websites that are pulling from AI. So I think there's a lot of opportunities with AI. It's really just people's creativity that is really the only stumbling block now. So I think that'll continue to grow over here a lot.
Okay. All right, so all this work talk, right? So let's get into the relaxation, right?
Sure.
Blow off the steam.
I need more time for that. Yeah.